Hello, this is Astro Breeze Carrie, and welcome to our weekly transits, our astrological weather for the week. And we have a bit of a busy week, and I've mapped it out here, and I'm going to go over it a little bit more for you, but I'm just going to point out some of the important things, and then we'll get into explaining it. So we'll start with the math part, and then get into interpretation. So one of the big things we'll kind of do wide and look at the top here. We have the sun just moved into Virgo a couple days ago, and Mercury's moving into or just moved into Virgo today. And you can see the Mercury's getting closer to the sun, and they are conjunct, and the sun or Mercury will actually conjunct exactly the sun this week in a couple days, and then it'll pass it and go faster. But what we have here, so we have a change of flavor, a change of this energy we talked about last week, going from this intense Leo energy to now moving into more analytical, organized, helpful Virgo energy. So this is definitely a big deal. And Mercury is in Virgo, it's kind of interesting because Mercury rules Virgo, rules Gemini and Virgo. And it's called exalted in Virgo as well. When a planet is exalted, it's like it's home away from home. It's an honored guest. So it loves to be in Virgo, where its home and its other home is in Virgo, and one home is in Gemini. If you don't understand that, don't worry about it. It'll just kind of come in over and over, but it's a nice place for Virgo, or I mean for Mercury. It likes to be there. It's a good place for it. So that's one thing. But what we also have is a couple of really interesting configurations this week. But because they're both together, they're going to both be in a double quincunx relationship. And that's called a yod. And I drew it here and I'll show it to you uncomplicated, but here. But if we just, I'll come back to it, but I just want you to note that the sun is making a 150-degree angle over here to Pluto, and that is a major adjustment. And then it's making another 150-degree angle over here to Neptune. And then those two are making they're a sextile. So those two apart, we know we've been watching this and this is going to go on for a while. They're outer planets. Those are 60 degrees apart. So they're happy. They're both in air sign or at air and fire. So they get along, but they don't get along with this sign right now. They have nothing in common. So it's a bit of adjustment. So the sun is going to go through first the adjustment. And then Mercury, you can see it's just tagging behind it. So it's going to do that same thing too a day later. And we'll get into that. So basically the sun is like your ego is going to make an adjustment and then it's going to be communicated. You have to, Mercury is how we describe and talk and communicate things. All right, so that will be happening. And then we're going to have the lunar eclipse in Pisces. And eclipse is by the moon nodes. So you'll notice that I drew it here by sun straight down over to the south node. You can see the north node is close. And then in a couple of days, the moon will be over here, which I'll show you in a minute. But I just wanted to show you the opposition. A full moon is an opposition. The sun is lighting up the moon. It's right down here now. You can look out tonight sky and it's almost, it's fairly full. It just moved into Aquarius and it's like one sign away. So it's like 30 degrees off. So it's just a little bit off. Okay, so that, and then we also have a couple of interesting squares with that. So with this full moon, with the sun being next to Mercury, it's going to be opposing, the moon over here. And then they will be squaring Uranus, or I should say, and then with the square there, it is technically the midpoint of these two oppositions, right? If these are going to be opposing, it's 180 degrees, and then the midpoint of that, or halfway between them, right? Halfway between this arc over here is 90, and that is a midpoint. A square is a midpoint. So we have this being activated as well. It's going to all be within pretty close degrees. The full moon will be at 4 degrees, and we have Uranus over here at 5. So that will be activated, which we will get to, but that's a key player. And then we have another square happening. We're going to be coming into a tighter square this week. Oh, I forgot to put some in. With Mars and Saturn. So we can see that they are square in cardinal signs. But then we also have a good aspect here. Let me get another color. Um, we have one with Jupiter. Here we go, and Saturn. And we'll put it, guess we can put it like this here. Jupiter, you're not going to see the trine that way. All right, we'll just do it this way. Just put it this way. So Jupiter and Saturn right here. You can see that if I were to draw, the other parts all the way around, you'd see the grand trine, but this is 120 degrees off. You see Jupiter here at 12 in the fire sign Leo, and going over here, it'll tighten through the week. It'll get more exact. Um, Over here to Saturn in Aries. So that's a fire sign. So, okay, these are all the aspects of the week, which is very interesting. But so let me just reiterate something while I keep that in place. So just to go over it, Virgo opens the week by really asking us the both the Sun and Mercury going into Virgo. So it's going to ask us to edit reality. So it's like editing what is efficient, what is unhealthy, what's vague, or what's out of alignment. This Virgo energy is going to be helpful and deduce and help create more efficiency. If things have gotten out of hand, it's time to trim, trim the garden, trim the hair, trim the nails, organize, get rid of stuff that's unnecessary, clogging you up, outdated, you don't need, all that kind of energy. And then these yods, the yod is also called a hand of God. It is one planet. If you think musically, it's the blues pattern. It's a 1-4-5. The 12 bar blues is a 1-4-5. If you get into music theory, that's what drives a lot of modern music. 1-4 or a 1-5. The perfect fourth, the perfect fifth, and the root. So we have two of those. I mean, it's adjustment. It's things that don't have anything in common, and we need to make adjustments. It's very difficult. It's interesting though. It pushes us kind of into new grounds. Then we have the Pisces eclipse. Um, well, one more thing about the yod. Yods make adjustment unavoidable. It's like the collective vision is changing and our daily methods have to catch up. Not those of you who've been paying attention, but a lot of people that aren't. Okay, so the Pisces eclipse then comes up and it reminds us, and it's like Pisces Virgo. It's opposite now. See, it's moved back a little bit. Don't worry about it, but we have that access of surrender and then nitpick. So Pisces eclipse reminds us that not everything can be solved analytically. We might have to go within. Some truths arrives through intuition, through feeling, through dreams, through grief, through compassion, or maybe just surrendering. And the Virgo wants it solved and organized and orderly and onto the, and done. It may not be the way it always has to turn out. Uranus, that mid planet there, makes the revelation of things sudden. It's like, oh, I could have had a V8. It's like information can come quickly and or disruptive. Um, it could disrupt old assumptions. It could shake out things that again don't stick anymore. It's not part of us. It's like I don't need that anymore, whether it's an item or a belief. And then Jupiter trining Saturn. Um, did I move that? Um, where is that? Sorry, thought I moved it. Yeah. So then, yeah, over here, the Jupiter trine Saturn is nice. It's like it asks us to build around the revelation. It's like you don't have just the insight. It gives it structure. So the insight is Jupiter and all this mercurial energy, all this Virgo energy. It's putting some structure, and then coming into this nice trine with Saturn, it gives it the structure. It gives the insight something to hang on. It gives the intuitive things some structure, some scaffolding. That's what I was looking for, scaffolding. And then we have Mars, in that nice conversation with Jupiter, but it's in a little bit of a tight one with Mars. And it gives practical warning. It's like, don't confuse urgency with readiness. Don't force action like from emotional exhaustion. And this is going to be very interesting geopolitically this week too. I'm kind of not looking forward to that on one level, but I expect a lot of volatility with things. Whoops, let me get the markets could be really up and down. It could be really a really interesting week. Things could be, I mean, this could be the week of, false flags. It could be war attempts. It could be stale resolutions. Looks like things are going to go one way, then they don't. It's just that kind of a week. So we start out today where I said, let's get over to the days. So we go through. So today we have the Virgo Mercury, and then coming into Wednesday, we have the Yods taking place, and you can see here, Sun is at 3 degrees, and then Neptune is here at 3 degrees, right? And then if I go one more day, you'll see Mercury. Um, it actually goes faster. I mean, it went so fast. It does go 3 degrees, and it will be there exactly too. So you can see it went, did its little thing. Just it's gonna be hours behind because I just went a day later, right? So I go a day back. So it's less than a day, and it's doing the same thing. Boom, boom. And then we are almost at the full moon, and that's going to be, let's go hours. So we'll see it's late. It's at 4 degrees. We're sun 4. It's about right. But not quite. Okay, it's right around in there. So now you can see it's like it is a few minutes. Let me get it the next because it's like right at the next day, right? So it's so I'm looking at the moon right up on top there. Moon, take it to 53, 54. There it is. Okay. 4 degrees 54, sun degrees 4 degrees 54. And see, look at see Uranus, 5 degrees. That's right into that. It's just past, but it's still tense. Um, where's there are other squares? And then I want to read you some things I made some good notes on. Okay, here's the one. Here's the Jupiter at 12 and Uranus, I mean Saturn at 13. Okay, anyway, this is some really interesting things we're coming in here. We have those Yods, we got the squares. So let me give you some of my notes here. All right, we got lots of good stuff. So we already talked about Sun. Um, the Sun squaring Uranus. Okay, going on that. So now we have that identity, our identity, the Sun, direction, confidence are disrupted because it's square, right? So there may be some mishap, and people that have strong suns or in their chart might experience a little bit of that, especially if those degrees. If you have the mutable signs, that's going to hit you more. And then Mercury has a square to Uranus. So I think Mercury, mind, communication, squaring Uranus. Uranus would be message, technology, collective conversation becomes unpredictable. This is what makes me a little nervous with the going on in the geopolitical world because there's maybe some peace deals. So this lets me think there may be something upsetting some of these things that are trying to go down. Okay, Mercury may be exalted in Virgo, but Uranus in Gemini is stimulating the nervous system, speeding up information, interrupting old thought patterns, and producing sudden insights or reversals. This could be, really, really good for pulling in ideas, but then again, it could be disruptive. It might be not what you thought. Your nervous system could be sped up. You could have trouble sleeping this week, especially around full moon. And then we got Uranus and Gemini stimulating the nervous system with Mercury over there in Virgo, like kind of energy. And then the lunar eclipse, we got the Pisces moon comes into that opposition with Virgo. See, my parents were that opposition. My dad was Pisces and my mom was Virgo, so I kind of understand that space out my part of my dad and then the nitpicky note-taking part of my mom. So I have this going on. And then now we have the Uranus in Gemini would be probably the wild card would have been me. And I'm pretty Aries. I have some heavy Gemini. aspects. So that creates a powerful mutable tension. And what do I mean by mutable? Well, they're the middle signs. It's, the beginning of a season would be cardinal. The next month would be mutable. I'm sorry, fixed. And then the next month would be mutable. That's the last of each season would be the mutable. So now we're into the end of summer in the northern hemisphere, the end of Virgo. I mean, we're into that time and that's Virgo and that's changeable. And Pisces is the end of a season right before it changes into, Aries. And same with Gemini. Okay, so the eclipse now is therefore not only about balancing discernment with intuition. Okay, discernment, Virgo, intuition, Pisces, full moon eclipse, opposite, right? So it can bring sudden emotional realization, unexpected news, a technology or media disruption. This one makes me nervous. A change in public conversation, or a collective awakening that forces people to update their assumptions quickly. That's what I'm hoping on. A collective awakening that forces people to update their assumptions. So a lot of maybe mistaken certainties. Oh, I thought it was like this, and it isn't. So how can people realize some of these things again with the shift of the ego without eating crow, right? They maybe try not to rub somebody's nose in it too hard, but that's what this Sun and Mercury yods are coming into. It's like the sun, your ego has to adjust, has to bend to something, and then you maybe have to declare it, restate it, apologize. I don't know. It just, it could be this is for the collective. So it's so many permutations of that. Um, so the yod is like your observations. Okay, so the sun, I already went through this. So the sun is receiving that adjustment from Pluto and Neptune. Okay, so Pluto, that's the depth, and Neptune is the dream. And then Mercury has to carry that adjustment, Mercury, into language and thought, while Uranus keeps breaking up any attempts to make the message too fixed or final. It's like, okay, but I changed my mind. Well, you might have to change it again, or readjust it a little bit. It's not over yet. Kind of sort of energy is going to make it like that through the week. Sun and Mercury square Uranus, Mars square Saturn. All right, we talked about those. Oh, and then the Jupiter trine Saturn is the constructive framework underneath both. So this week kind of says wake up, revise the model, revise whatever it is you're thinking about, then build something more workable. It's like you've been working on something or many things, and sometimes you have to just chip out the initial pattern and then you start refining it. But don't try to control how quickly the revelation arrives. You just have to be ready to just keep working in it. So this is a week where information shapes what we thought we knew. That's what I like. The information that comes out shapes what we thought we knew. And I could speak on a lot of things. I mean, lots of things that I'm working on doing, starting out new things. And I thought I was going to do it this way, and I'm having to adjust it and do it a little different over here. You gotta, all right. Um, all right, so just to finish up, the sun feels the adjustment first, then Mercury has to name, analyze, edit, and communicate what the sun has revealed. Your ego has to make the change, and then you have to communicate it. It's like, well, change your plans, kind of. Discernment under pressure. All right, what else do I need to tell you about? We talked about that. Mercury in Virgo is definitely being um, it's learning how to make the invisible practical. Isn't that nice? There's this yod that's coming up. So the Neptune supplies the vision, Pluto supplies the depth, and Mercury is like, well, can I articulate this enough to be useful? So a yod, let me go back over a couple of things. I have some notes on yod for you. A yod creates a sense that something cannot remain as it is because you have two inconjuncts, two awkward angles. It just wants to change. You got both of them. So the apex planet, in this case, it was either the sun or Mercury, becomes a point where the larger configuration has to be integrated. So both of those are pointing at that apex planet. So the sun, your ego, your identity has to change somehow, and then it has to be communicated basically, and it's basically adjusting like identity, leadership, health, work, systems, daily habits in response to the deeper the deeper changes. Anything outdated's got to go for sure. All right. The one thing we need to be careful though is we might get stuck in an endless analysis. We don't want to do that because that's getting too stuck on that Virgo energy. Realize this Pisces full moon and you got to integrate the feeling in with it. Um, to make it a profound, let's see the opportunity is to turn it into a profound realization, into a process, a practice, a schedule, a boundary, a healthier choice, or a better method. There it is. That's basically all it really is. So the Pisces lunar eclipse, the vision must be felt, not just explained away, right? It's got to be feel it now. And then um, it's going to be, that Virgo stuff is going to bring it into the practical, but you got to feel it first for it really to stick. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of weak. So define it, organize it, improve it, feel it, surrender the illusion of total control, and then notice what the rational mind cannot contain. So I love that. Um, And we talked about be ready for something interesting too, for something unusual, out of the bounds. And then we've got this nice Jupiter trine Saturn. It's like the growth in something can become real. If you define it and you make the internal adjustments, that energy will have a good place to go because it's stuck and something has to change. So the Jupiter trine Saturn, if you make some attempt, the Saturn will flow, the structure will be there, the stabilizing signature of the week. The Jupiter in Leo wants to create, it wants to expand, it wants confidence, visibility. Look at me, I'm generous, I got a larger platform. Saturn in Aries wants disciplined self-leadership, courage, accountability, willingness to build something through sustained effort. And, it's like it's the opportunity to make inspiration structurally viable. We make it bigger, we make it sustainable. And then we have the Mars square Saturn. It's like we never get great everything perfect, right? Um, it's like the hard edge, it's definitely the hard edge. Mars in Cancer acts from like an emotional instinct. That's where Mars is. It's in Cancer. It's in a cardinal sign. It's like Mama Bear. Okay. So it wants to protect. It has memory. It has family concerns. It's in Cancer. It's a need for safety. And then Saturn and Aries is like, take responsibility for your own direction. Stop waiting for permission. Establish a clear boundary. But if you put these together, it could be you're wanting to act, but you feel blocked somehow. You have emotional defensiveness, maybe meeting a real hard reality. You're trying to justify something within yourself because you're, trying to work through something. Frustrations around home, family, security, or workload. That I think might be a big one for people. Frustrations around home, people in the home, family, ways of communication. And then anger that reveals an unmet need. That is this, you can be feeling that block, that frustration, but then it's hopefully can change with this, yod, realizing that it needs to change. And then really the necessity of pacing rather than forcing. So don't be so hard on yourself. It's because some of the egg might start to crack and it might all come out at once. So at its best, this emotional energy is learning structure. At its worst, it can produce passive aggressive behavior, resentment, exhaustion, or pushing through a limit until the body says no. And you might see this in people around you. You might see passive aggressiveness, you might see resentment, exhaustion. And again, people trying to push through deadlines without nourishing themselves, without taking a break, without proper hydration. They think they can just adrenalize through it. Mars is the warrior, just adrenalize through it. But then afterwards, you'll either get sick or tired, or you just can't do it, can't sustain that. So that is basically the energy of the week. Anything else? We went through it. It's just you can see it just moving along, but there's nothing profound other than what we mapped out in the beginning. All right, that is pretty much it. A dynamic we make. I'm going to, suggest we all take it to the limits, take advantage of this energy, but then also see some of the stress that it could be causing in people around us. Full moon times are definitely things to watch. They're unsettling. You have more blue light. It's harder to sleep. Um, And then we get some of that tense energy there with Uranus, upset out of the blue, and it's in that Gemini sign. So it could be things breaking, also, communications, computer problems, glitches, networks down, all that kind of energy. So just heads up. All right. Thank you for being here. Talk to you next week. Bye for now.